and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 4 tips for tomorrow's horse racing action. Now, before we get into them, I quickly just want to go through a few things with you. Now, first of all, if you haven't listened to the latest episode of the In the Saddle podcast, where I was joined by the gang previewing this weekend's racing at Beverley and Haydock tomorrow, if you want to listen to it, I'll leave a link to it in the description box below, where we've got all the podcast platforms covered, including the likes of SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple. So whichever one takes your fancy, just hit one of those links in the description box below. Also as well, this is going to be my last video for a little while. I'm going away next week for a few days, so my next video on my YouTube channel probably won't be until next Thursday. So that'll just be a couple of days before the Derby. And actually the first races I might be previewing could be the Epsom Oaks card. So yeah, it's going to be a while now to my next YouTube video. So hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow. And also as well, I quickly just want to recap on what a great day it was for us today. We had 2 winners from 2 selections. We landed the Nap and Next Best double. The first selection that ran for us was A Up Maggie at Carlisle. It was quite a comfortable success in the end, with Kevin Stott aboard. Had previously run some decent races on our last couple of starts against the boys, but dropping into Philly's company today, she really was able to exploit that, and with that 3-year-old allowance as well, she was really well treated. So that was a nice comfortable win from her. The other horse that won for us, our Nap, Carbon Positive. Now that was a little bit more of a close finish. He was up there, he was handy throughout, but I think ideally his draw helped him win today. It's always good to be drawn low if you can on the 5 furlong course at Brighton. There's normally a bias down there towards the far side. So yeah, I think that definitely helped him, but it was a good ride as well by Ray Dawson, who threw the kitchen sink, and in the end he was game to last out. So yeah, it's been a good day for us on the whole after a couple of recent poor days. But yeah, good to get those couple of winners today. But it means that we've had a fairly decent month in May, and fingers crossed, like I said earlier, we can end on a high tomorrow. So 4 tips then, and we're going to be going to Catterick for the first one of them in the 2:30. Now this is where my extra tip of the day is going to be here, with a horse called Dexter for Ryan Scott and Roger Fell, currently available at the time recording at 7 to 1. I'm going to recommend a 0.5 each way selection here. Now this horse, the key to him normally is a bit of cut in the ground, and he's going to get that at Catterick tomorrow, no problem at all. But also as well, he's now starting to become quite well handicapped. Put a line through his 2 runs so far at York this season. I don't think necessarily that is his track, but his last run wasn't too bad actually. That was in a Class 2 contest, and he's dropping in Class 3 tomorrow, and he wasn't actually disgraced in that race. He wasn't beaten too far against some informed sprinters. So yeah, I think that wasn't a bad race. But yeah, if you go back through some of his earlier form, he used to be trained by Rafe Beckett, and he looked like he was a really promising juvenile that could go on to bigger and better things. His profiles have been a little bit in and out, but he seems to do best on these quirky tracks, and I think Catterick could really suit him tomorrow. He's £4 now lower than his last winning mark, which came at Chepstow last year when he won off 86. Chepstow and Catterick are quite similar because they're a little bit undulating, you know, they got dips in the middle. And I think the track tomorrow could really suit him. And I think with a bit of juice in the ground, he's now down to a good, workable mark. I think he's a big player in this field tomorrow. And hopefully the 8 runners stand their ground. And it means at 7 to 1, I think that's a cracking each way bet to get things kicked off for us. So that's going to be the extra tip there. We then head to Haydock for my next best with a horse in the 440. The last race there with a horse called Elvrika for Tom Marquand and William Haggis. My next best here is currently available at 5 to 2, and I'm going to recommend a 1-point win bet here. Now this filly is going to be making her handicap debut tomorrow off a mark of 77, which I think is fairly workable. She's shown some good form on all her 3 starts so far. She finished 2nd on debut here at Haydock when travelling well in the race that worked out not too bad. She then finished at 3rd at York on soft ground behind a horse of Roger Variant, who finished 3rd in the Vertum Futurity and is now rated 110. And then she won on her seasonal reappearance at first class time out and first time blinkers, where she reacted really well to them. I think she's got a lot of scope for improvement, and off her mark of 77, she hasn't been missed in the market, but I think she could be a good thing in a handicap here. and I think she's got a really big chance. Also as well, she's taking on the boys as well, so William Haggis must be confident that she could be ahead of her mark and that she's on a nice one to begin with. And maybe, who knows, if she wins this tomorrow, there could be black type for her somewhat down the line. So Elvrika tomorrow, I think she's got a solid chance. I think she's the one they've all got to beat, and yeah, that's why she's going to be my next best of the day. We then go to the 5 o'clock at Chester with my nap with a horse called Military Mission for James Doyle and Hugo Palmer. Now this horse at the time recording is currently available at 3-1, and I'm going to recommend a 1-point win bet here. Now this horse absolutely hosed up last time on soft ground at Salisbury when making all. I'm not sure what he beat in behind, but he couldn't have done it more easily and more impressively. But yeah, I still think that was a really good effort. The handicapper actually raised him £1 for that, even though it was a novice. He's now rated 85, but even though this is his handicap debut tomorrow, I still think it's a fairly workable mark. He's got a good draw tomorrow to exploit at Chester, drawn in stall 2, and we've seen it time and time again. Those low draws at Chester can be really good for these front runners, and if he can get to the front early on from James Doyle, I think he might be able to stay there at the end. Also as well, Hugo Palmer's team have been in good form of late. Before today they were operating at 31% strike rate, so a lot of ticks in the boxes tomorrow. The ground should be in his favour, his running style should suit, good draw, yard in form. A lot to like about the chances of Military Mission tomorrow. We then end with my long shot in the 8:15 at Salisbury with a horse called Chiave de Volta for Jason Watson and David Menuisier. Now this horse at the current time recording was available at 16-1, and 4 places were being offered by quite a few firms at that price, including the likes of SkyBet, Paddy, and also as well Betfair. I'm going to recommend a 0.5 each way selection here. Now this one could be a little bit of a flyer, has clearly had his issues during his career, but if you go back a couple of seasons ago, he did show some good ability for David Menuisier. He finished 3rd, I think, in the handicap at Sandown behind a horse called Ghost Watch, who went on to win the Melrose handicap that year, and he wasn't disgraced at all. He's now quite a bit lower than when he was running off those marks. He's now rated 75. But what's clearly interesting is the fact he's still in training, and David Menuisier's got a few horses in his yard like this, quite lightly raced types that have maybe had 1 or 2 niggling issues, but normally when they return to the racecourse, they can often find lots of improvement, and I think he's a really interesting runner in this race. I think he's really unexposed as a stayer, and if you go back through some of his form, like I said a couple of years ago, he could be quite well handicapped. This isn't a particularly strong race. The ground is currently described as soft, but he's got a pivotal mare. He's out of a pivotal mare, so they can normally handle a bit of give. And also as well, he's shown a little bit of ability with some juice in the ground. So I think he does have a good chance tomorrow at a double figure price. And I could see him potentially being well supported or going the other way and taking an absolute stink in the market. But I think he's a really interesting runner, and I'll just recommend a small stakes bet there. But yeah, that's why he's going to be my long shot of the day in the evening action at Salisbury. So there are the 4 tips for tomorrow's racing. If you're still enjoying these videos, remember to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe here to my YouTube channel at Lucky Loaders 15. If you want to follow me on social media, you can do, where my handle on Twitter is at Lucky Loader 15. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, my website address is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners for you guys tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.